is a fine occasion, all prim and proper, never eyebrow raising. But when I host a party of notoriety, we break all the rules of fine society. No, we are never in compliance, 'cause all my friends are giants. Big giant Pete has big giant feet, and he lives in a house on Giant Street. Big giant Paul is actually rather small and spends a lot of time at the mall. All my friends are giants. They like coming over for tea. When your friends are giants, just ask them to step carefully. Hey, watch it. Big giant Mac takes her tea black, but always steers the chat off track.
So this one time Alibaba and I went.
Big giant Drake sat in my giant cake, but I'm not upset, it was just a mistake. Big giant bee spilled her giant tea.
What?
Now my backyard is a swimming pool, apparently.
Woo! Cannonball!
All my friends are giants. They like coming over for tea. When your friends are giants, just ask them to jump carefully. They're jumping. Calm down, everybody relax. Take a deep breath. Big giant Amanda brought a giant panda who is munching cakes on the veranda. Big giant Cindy says, oh, it's too windy, but enjoys speaking with Ron, a beer in Hindi. Big all my friends are giants. They love coming over for tea. When your friends are giants, just ask them to seize carefully. All my friends are giants. All my friends just sneezed. Gesundheit. Giant sneezes blew my house away. The party is over, nevertheless. They seem pleased. All my friends are giants. It's the giants. They love coming over for tea. When your friends are giants, every day's a party.
Oh, I love that. That's Mr. Aaron.
That's dancing music.
That's Ella the Pearl Monroe and Lynne Sabean here from the Capitol Center for the Arts. And the good news is, for kids and families, Mr. Aaron is going to be at the Capitol Center for the Arts August 3rd, next week, at 11 a.m. And just a little bit, we're going to have a couple of tickets to give away to see Mr. Aaron, who's been on this show before he performed at Market Days. But Lynn, what a great entertainer he is. He truly is.
Isn't he? I saw his last show at the Capitol Center on July 13th. This August 3rd show is going to be his third of 3 shows, and we hope to have him back again in the future.
No, absolutely. I mean, he puts on. I have never seen him perform in front of a live audience, but what he did here in the studio when he performed here live was just really something special. And I know he appeals to. I think his music appeals to everybody, really.
Kids of all ages.
Kids of all ages.
I went around with the biggest smile on my face for the rest of the day after listening to that. It was like I was in my happy place.
Yeah, and great lyrics, great music, and a lot of fun. So, Mr. Aaron, August 3rd, it's an 11 a.m. show. So, a great show to take the kids to at the Capitol Center for the Arts. How are tickets going for that one?
Tickets are going well. We're having it in the Governor's Hall. There are seats for the parents. The kids can sit on the floor. They can get up and dance and have a blast. All
right. So, a lot of fun and a lot of things happening. And new shows to announce, too, at the Capitol Center for the Arts.
Yes, since I was here last time, we announced Nick Offerman, who you may know as Ron Swanson from Parks and Recs. He's going to be coming on December 3rd, and that show is selling phenomenally. So if you're interested in that, get your tickets as soon as possible. We also announced Menopause the Musical. That is a return engagement to the Capitol Center. I believe they were here a couple of years ago. And then Eastern Ballet Institute for The Nutcracker on December 2nd and 3rd.
Outstanding. So some great ads there. Believe it or not, I may be one of the only men on the face of the earth, but I have seen Menopause the Musical. Not at the Capitol Center for the Arts, but I did actually see that show.
And your thoughts on it?
I loved it. I loved it. It's not just for women. It is not.
So it's a good date night show.
I would say so. I would say it is.
Well, since men have to, go through, experience the effects of menopause on their partners or their families, and they need to be up on these things. They should enjoy it. It's part of their life, too.
There you go. I would agree. I would agree with that. So that is October 22nd. At the Capitol Center for the Arts, ccanh.com. And we just heard from Mr. Aaron and all his friends are Giants. I hope they're San Francisco Giants for Lynn's sake. But how are you today, Mr. Aaron?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys?
We are great. And just heard your terrific song and talking about your previous two shows at the Capitol Center for the Arts. And the next one coming up next Thursday, a week from today.
Yeah, that's right, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, and you're going to work your magic again, Mr. Aaron.
Yeah, we've been having a good time. It's like a party in there. The kids get dancing, and so we've been featuring like a different instrument each week. I bring a different member from my band, and so the first show we had the guitarist, and last show we had a saxophone player, and this time the drummer's coming. And he and I both are going to play some drums and do some fun stuff, along with all the regular sort of good time songs that we get into.
So when did you start your children's performing career?
I started about 5 or 6 years ago. I was in New York City. I was just like a working, gigging musician, playing in bands, playing at night. But I was just kind of looking for steady work, and I ended up finding a job teaching these kids music classes, which I just sort of thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And I found I kind of had a knack for it and an aptitude for it. Maybe I've never grown up, I don't know, but it suited my...
Well, there's no fun growing up.
Yeah, right? And so then I was doing the classes, which I still do here in Concord at my studio, Rattlebox, and then the performing was just sort of a natural extension. I started playing with another kid's band, and I thought, well, I write a lot of songs for musicals and for my own bands. It's like we'll do some kids music. So the first album I actually did with my wife, who's also a songwriter, and and that's how we got into kids music. And then a few years ago I had kids, and now it's all it's all happening.
At the Capitol Center, we really try to emphasize our family programming, and thank you so much for doing these shows. I mean, it has really enhanced the summer. I'm very curious about your experience in working with children and your firsthand exposure to how kids flourish when they're exposed to the arts.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked, Lynne, because that's a big reason you're onto something that's really kept me in kids' music. And not only is it fun and enjoyable, but I've been able to see like how important it is for kids to have this musical exposure, but it's not just music yet. It's the arts, it's dance. It's everything, but you see how much they grow in many areas of their life, through this musical experience. So my the music classes in the concerts, for example, the kids, they get up, they move around, they have a good time, but also they know all the words to the songs, and they're learning vocabulary, and they're learning language, and it's a social, communal experience. So that's the kind of stuff that I get really excited about, is that we can have all these people, and the adults end up having a good time too, and
sure
it's like this wonderful group community thing that starts happening, and it's really powerful, and I think that's the unique power of the arts, is to be able to inspire us and excite our imaginations, and awaken that kid-like spirit in all of us. But it's so easy for the kids, especially. They're right there with you, and we have a good time. That's been really important to me.
I think early exposure to music and the theater pays dividends down the road. I truly do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when a child, I'm gonna limit it to music because that's my experience,
right.
But I think it applies to the rest of the arts, the performing arts, visual arts, everything. But for example, when a child learns how to sing a song, even as simple as the ABC song, that's something we all grow up singing. It's the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's like almost innate in our like social being. But anyway, they're learning the alphabet, obviously. They're learning language. They're learning rhythm. There's math in music, and then they're, not to mention just learning to use their voice. And there's something magical about song and the ways that we connect to song, and it's pretty incredible. So I think it's a wonderful start to young personhood.
Yeah, just in my personal experience, I was exposed to three youngsters that were heavily involved in music and the arts at a very early age, and two of them are on Broadway now, and one of them is working for NBC. So not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, but it gives them a chance to to be creative and experiment and express themselves and think about things in a new way. And then also the communal aspect is really important. It's a whole bunch of people in a room together. At our concerts, we always are encouraging everybody to sing and to clap along and to dance and to move and to interact. And so there's the social element too that they're exposed to, and I think all those things are really important.
No question about it. We're talking with Mr. Aaron, who will be performing 1 week from today, 11 a.m. at the Capitol Center for the Arts in downtown Concord. Lynn?
I was really struck when you commented a few minutes ago about the mathematical aspects of music, and I think that's something that a lot of people discount a lot more than they should. They kind of think of the arts as more of a right-brained activity, and there are actually studies showing that when people are involved in the arts and in music, it improves their math and science skills as well. So you're really creating a well-rounded person, not just an artsy-fartsy person.
Yeah, exactly. I read somewhere, I wish I remember the exact source, but music is one of the few activities that actually engages both sides of your brain. It requires both of those, those skill sets. And so, and that's what I always talk about with the music classes, too. We call it a music class, but like we've been saying, there's so many other things that come out of it. Not every kid in the class is going to become a virtuosic musician, but that's not really what it's about, because it's about all these other things, too.
Well, tell us about your studio, Mr. Aaron Rattlebox.
Yeah, it's called Rattlebox Studio, and we actually have 2 rooms. It's at the Concord Community Arts Center, which is over on Thorndike Street in the old Rumford School. And on one side, I have a recording studio, and I do lessons for my older students and adults. And then we have another room that's just completely dedicated to the kids' classes. And it started with my music classes, and now we have art classes, and we have a yoga class that's starting in August. It's all aimed at kids under 10, those classes that happen in that room. And then, of course, we do private instructions for older kids and adults. But yeah, that's the idea. It's great. There's been a wonderful community growing around it. We've only been in operation for about a year and a half, but people, I was pleased to see the number of people that also valued these art opportunities for their children, and so there's a really nice community that's growing, and it's been great.
Do you think that Concord is unusual in that respect? I've found in my experience that people are very open to the value of art within the community.
Yes, I think so. I haven't been a whole lot of other places, and I came from New York City, so it's hard to tell. But I was really surprised at how receptive people were. And there's very much like the local mentality. And we want to support and foster, things that are happening locally in community things. And the fact that the Concord Community Arts Center exists and is very nearly full of art-focused businesses, I think that says a lot for Concord.
Well, there's no question about it, and they have great kids programming. For all kids of all ages, really, at the Capitol Center for the Arts, and that's what your show is. It really appeals to kids of all ages, Mr. Aaron. And
yes, that's right. Even the kids that have been around for a long time.
That's true. Yeah, real old kids like me. But,
I wasn't going to say that.
No, but we look forward to your show next Thursday at 11 a.m. at the Capitol Center for the Arts, and I understand there are still some tickets available, but get them quickly, and we're going to have a couple to give away in just a few minutes. So thank you for being on the program, and we'll see you on Thursday at the Capitol Center for the Arts.
Sounds great. Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. And Lynn, I know you don't take that lightly at the Capitol Center for the Arts. Kids programming, very important to the everything that the Capitol Center for the Arts does.
Oh, it sure is, and we really go into high gear in the summer with that. We have RB Productions in the building. They're having their last show of the season this coming weekend, Beauty and the Beast Jr. We have Impact Children's Theater. They come in every Tuesday, and they'll be doing shows through the middle of August. And, of course, Mr. Aaron. During the school year, we have the Lincoln Financial School Series, sponsored, as the name suggests, by Lincoln Financial Foundation. We have 12 shows over the course of the year. A lot of your listeners may not know that in the city of Concord, they finance to have every child in first through third grade go to a show at the Capitol Center throughout the year. So if your kids are not bringing home permission slips, contact the school and find out why, because the preparations are there to have them come to these performances. We also had a lot of kids-specific shows during the last season. We had Lori Berkner, who's going to be coming back this December with a holiday show. We had Daniel Tiger, and we've got a lot more for this coming season.
And shows of great quality and great variety, too. I mean, it's really, covers the entire spectrum, and it's so important to expose, I think, youngsters to quality theater at a young age. And I know at the Capitol Center for the Arts, quality does matter. Well,
it sure does. And we invest a lot of time and effort into putting together programming that, we're not really into the one-off ticket sales. We want people to become longtime patrons and really feel like this is their home when they come to the Capitol Center. our goal is really to get it to the point where, it doesn't even matter if someone hasn't heard of a particular act,
Right.
that if it's at the Capitol Center, it's going to be good.
Absolutely, and you've developed that reputation over the years without question. And now I'm just reading this in a 10-year national study conducted by Stanford University, which is a pretty darn good university. Young people who were involved in the arts outside of their daily school classroom were, now get this, 4 times more likely to win an academic award, such as being on the honor roll, 8 times more likely to receive a community service award, 3 times more likely to win a school attendance award, 4 times more likely to participate in a math or science fair, and likely to score higher on their SAT college admission test scores if they have been involved for more than 4 years of after-school arts study. And just, again, from my personal, situation, I can tell you that is indeed the case for youngsters I knew involved in theater, without question.
And in summary, more likely to go to Stanford and graduate from Stanford.
Well, or a good school, like that. Yeah,
a lot of good
exactly.
schools out there.
Yeah, and right. And so it is very important. And what a great service the Capitol Center for the Arts does provide for not only Concord, but the greater Concord area and throughout the state of New Hampshire, without question. Before we let you go, Lynn, there have been some great shows at the Capitol Center for the Arts recently.
There has. Over 4th of July weekend, we had David Blaine, who performed to a packed house at the Capitol Center. There are a few shows since I've started working there that I kind of kick myself for not having tickets to when I hear how the show went after the fact, and this was definitely one of them. David Blaine, this was not a show for somebody who has a light constitution.
For the weak of heart, huh?
Yeah, he started the show by literally sewing his mouth shut.
Wow.
He put an ice pick through his
Many people have
bicep,
wanted me to do that at 2 o'clock
Yeah.
every day.
and then wrapped up the show with a near drowning.
I want to see how he regurgitated a frog from his stomach.
This kind of sounds like the show was written by a 12-year-old boy. It's just the dream show for that. He was very generous with his time. There was a VIP experience beforehand where he did some card tricks and some things for people who purchased the VIP package. But then he also went up into the balcony and really kind of made everybody, no matter what their ticket level, feel like that they were, that he was glad that they were there that night.
Oh, isn't that something? So that was a great show. Packed house, a squirm-inducing show, I'm told.
Squirm-inducing. Yeah, great term for it.
And some great young, well, I shouldn't say young, but children's theater as well.
Yeah, we had RB that we talked about a little bit earlier. Earlier in the summer, they had Annie Jr., The Lion King Jr., Thoroughly Modern Millie Jr., and 101 Dalmatians Kids.
Wow.
The 101 Dalmatians Kids is put on by, like the real little guys. And we had a more than packed house. We were at about 250 people watching that performance. Wow.
And
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast this weekend.
Beauty and the Beast this weekend.
Very good. Any tickets left for that?
There are some tickets left for that. We recommend that people get them ahead of time if they can, because a lot of the parents and relatives show up night of the show and then buy it at the box office. We want people to have the opportunity to get in their seats and really have a chance to relax before the show and not be standing in a ticket line.
And what is the Impact Children's Theater?
The Impact Children's Theater is the children's performance aspect of Jean's Playhouse.
Oh, okay.
And they take a number of fairy tales. A lot of them are Grimm's fairy tales. Some are other fairy tales. And they do their own twist on them, not necessarily modernizing, but definitely doing their own take on them. And they do 2 shows at 11 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Very, very good. So those are the shows that have taken place. But let's talk about a few that are in store for the not-too-distant future.
Sure. Next week we have singer-songwriter Amos Lee, who'll be coming on Wednesday, August 2nd. We've got, as we discussed, Impact Children's Theater continuing on Tuesdays until August 15th.
Very good.
We've got a great September lineup, which includes Ed Gerhardt, who's a local favorite, on September 16th. We've got John Cleese, which is going to be a remarkable show. He's going to be live, and there's also going to be a screening of the iconic Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's going to be on September 20th.
Now, are there still tickets left for that?
There are some, and there are some good tickets left for that. But, again, we encourage people to get their tickets early. If you're looking for something the week of the show, you're not going to most likely get the seat that you would want if you'd gotten your tickets earlier. Also, members of the Capitol Center for the Arts always have access to seats that non-members don't. If you go onto the website and you're a non-member and you don't go in, you're not going to see the same variety of seats that are available to you as a member.
That's good, good to know. So how do you become a member?
You become a member by going to our website at ccanh.com or calling us at 225-1111 and asking for our membership manager.
Outstanding. And in September, Sister Hazel will be there. That's for the Frank Monahan Foundation.
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times, and this is a organization that you're very familiar with.
It is. It is. Frank Monahan, for long time head basketball coach in the area, just a terrific guy. And this is the Monahan Foundation fundraiser this year featuring Sister Hazel. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is the first show where you're going to institute different kind of seating, right? Some for the people who want to dance and some who don't want to dance.
Yeah, as a result of one of the shows that we had earlier in the season where there was a real split between people going, hey, this is a rock party show. We want to get up and we want to dance. And then other people that have been just more traditional Capitol Center experience. We're like, hey, here's this guy with a mohawk who's standing up in front of me, and I want him to sit down so I can sit and enjoy the show. And we really do recognize that people, all experience and appreciate shows differently. So we have divided up the orchestra level so that there are places for people that if they just want to sit and enjoy the show and they know that somebody, and with the assurance that somebody's not going to stand up halfway through the show and that they can see the show the way that they want it. And then there are also going to be some areas where, it's pretty much majority rules. If most people are up there dancing, then you may want to get up there and dance as well. If the majority of people are seated, then maybe you should seat as well. But we're very excited about this, and this is the first show where we're going to put it into effect and see how it goes.
Outstanding. That is September 22nd, all for the benefit of the Frank Monahan Foundation and Sister Hazel, great national act coming to the Capitol Center for the Arts, ccanh.com for more information. And before we wrap up this edition of Curtain Call, Lynn, anything more to add?
Well, we're going to wrap up September with a couple of shows in our Spotlight Cafe, which is kind of our pop-up venue in the first floor of the Capitol Center. On September 23rd, which is Saturday, we're going to have Ben Sollee and Kentucky Native. And then on September 30th, Seth Gleer will be back.
Outstanding. Well, Lynn, thanks so much. We appreciate all you do and all that the Capitol Center for the Arts does, and we have for a long time. So, Lynne Sabean, thank you.
Thank you, and don't forget those tickets for Mr. Aaron.
We have 2 tickets right now for Mr. Aaron. You heard him earlier in our segment, and it's going to be a great show for the entire family, really. It's I know it's billed as a kids show, but you'll enjoy Mr. Aaron no matter what your age is. And he's going to be there next Thursday, 11 a.m. And we have 2 tickets right now for caller number 4 at 1-866-823-1077. 4 tickets for the 11 o'clock show next Thursday morning with Mr. Aaron.